I suppose I could tweet again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of me unplugging my mouse right at the beginning of the podcast, and also the Speakeasy podcast. Today, we'll be discussing news, as always, and mods. What with the recent debacle with Valve paid mods. Anyway, with me today is my usual guest, way over to that side, OPNerd,
Hello, good to see you guys again. Thanks for coming to hang out with us.
and right in the middle, in the center stage, actually, like almost in the center of the whole stream, Stealth Monkey.
What is going on, guys?
I can see him. He's not that stealthy.
Yeah, your blue screen's messing up. It should be just the blue and then a silhouette of you. We'll do
Yes.
the reverse. Anyway, the first news item for today, as you might be able to see down... I'm going to learn how to point everywhere on the podcast. It's going to be great. Down there. Killing Floor 2. Just talking about try. Killing Floor 2 has entered early access. It just entered early access under a week ago. And I've seen plenty of people playing it on YouTube and Twitch, and it seems pretty darn good. Have you guys seen much of it?
Yeah, I pretty sure it was PC Gamer had a series of very high quality, 1080p, 60 frame per seconds videos put up showcasing probably 3 hours worth of gameplay. I do own and have played the original. I haven't played it for a long time because I just played it with a certain group of friends, and when they stopped playing it, then so did I. But I enjoyed the original Killing Floor, and assuming it is being developed by Tripwire Interactive, right? The
Yep.
developers. Okay, yeah. I would just say as long as Tripwire is doing the development, I would trust that the quality is there. And from watching the video, it does look like it would be a fun follow-up for those that played the original.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of it. I actually watched, I think Jim Sterling might have done a video on it. And he normally only does videos of shit games, but it being an early access game, he did a video of it. And it looks really solid. I don't think there are many game modes or anything right now. It's missing a lot of content, obviously. That's the way an early access game should be. Which you'd know if you had watched the Speakeasy podcast, episode 1
Which
on
does
early
raise
access.
some concerns that I have about it, but go ahead.
Yeah. But what's there for the game is pretty solid. It looks pretty good. It runs pretty well. I haven't seen too many glitches and issues with it. It's just missing content, which is kind of the definition of a good early access game.
Well, it's straightforward, right? Zombie killing with your friends.
Hard to get wrong, you'd think, unless you went on Steam Greenlight.
My only concern would be because, as you say, there's a long ways to go in the development cycle before
Mhm.
they could say it's ready for release. And my concern is just that they run out of money before they can finish it. That they'd be pulling a double fine, which we talked about last week, in that they're banking on the early access sales to fund development. And should those sales dry up, then development of the game may uh, not continue. That's my one concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same concern with any early access game, really, isn't it? That they just stop developing it.
I mean, if when somebody like Double Fine does that, then you really have to stop and think, wow, it's still a risk, even
Yeah.
if there's a big name backing the game development.
And it should be pointed out, the game right now, there's a digital deluxe version available. But the game, just the base game, is $30. And it is very early on in development, so $30. I mean, it's just zombie killing, so you get what you pay for, but I don't
Got some
know.
anger. Definitely release it out in this game for sure.
Yeah,
All that blood and guts, I'm telling you.
go and just kill a lot of zombies.
I'm sure it will be a cathartic experience, yes. And if not, then Postal 2, I think, is still pretty cheap.
True. So, the next news item is Trine 3, The Artifacts of Power, has also gone into early access. And I guess I know the most about this game because I'm the one who's actually been playing it. My friend bought it for me, just out of the blue, like yesterday or maybe 2 days ago. I have trouble keeping track. And I played it, and it's great. The thing about it is, I'm so surprised, but also pleased they didn't call it Trine 3D, because it's 3D. You can move in 3 dimensions now. You can move forward and back in the screen. And it's really good. It's sort of close. It's sort of a mix between Trine 2 and Trine 1 and your classic 3D platformers.
Yeah.
collectathon platformers. There's less combat so far, although I've only played like the early levels, so maybe that'll change. Less combat and more searching around the levels, and the puzzles are more difficult to figure
Like
out
puzzle
just
solving.
because it's in 3D. So I like it a lot. It is glitchy as crap, though. A lot of the basic stuff will work fine, like, you know, shooting ropes and slashing dudes and all that. But you can get stuck in cutscenes, which I did if you go to my YouTube channel. In fact, I might go look for the video and just link it in the chat. You can get stuck in cutscenes, and you can get ropes stuck on things, and items get stuck everywhere. And so it's definitely early access. But what's there so far, other than being glitchy, is really, really good.
Is it also developed by Frozen Byte?
Yeah,
Who
it
developed
is.
the first two? Okay.
It is. They say the early access is because they're kind of experimenting with the 3D movement in and out of the screen and all that. But it's super solid. I love it. So I think
I'm definitely
they'll get
interested.
positive feedback.
I loved the original Shrine. I have not played the second, although I do own it. I'd like to play through it with somebody since they do support internet co-op for that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that it's being developed by Frozen Byte and it's a very charming world that they created in the first two games. So I'm hoping that carries over into this recent iteration.
Well, I'm gonna feel a little bit like a noob. What exactly is the story of this?
It's the story is more of just a charming little story and an excuse to play the game. If anybody doesn't want to hear the story, this will be kind of like the last thing we say on Trine 3 and we'll move on. So once you see the stream change, we'll be done with spoiling the story. The story is there are three people, good, bad, and ugly, that get caught up by this ancient artifact, the Trine. Basically captures their souls and makes them immortal. So when they die, they just respawn. And they've got to go and save the world, you know, because Trine. And then
Yeah.
Trine 2, it happens again. And then Trine 3, the Trine comes back again and gets them
Typical
again.
fantasy
So,
trope
Okay,
that's,
I
you
got
know.
that doesn't change much between fantasy games. But if you haven't played, have you played Shrine 1 or 2? There,
no, try.
Bucky. What makes the game interesting, especially if you played as a single player, is that there's three different characters that have
Yeah.
different abilities, and you can switch between those three on the fly.
Yeah, in an
To
instant.
solve problems, create puzzles. Like the wizard can, for example, create these boxes out of thin air that you can use to stack so that you could jump up to a platform that otherwise you may not be able to get there. And then the warrior, he specializes in combat. If you need to fight things, I mean, he's
Yeah.
your go-to guy. And
I mean,
the thief is agile, and she's got this like grappling hook or thing that rope she shoots out, and she can connect to things and swing back and forth. You just watch.
I mean, it's a
videos
neat
on-
little concept. It's definitely
Yeah.
a neat little concept.
You know what?
You know
Trine
what-
3.
Noob question.
Trine 3 really, other than the 3D, well, I suppose with an extra dimension, they've filled it with new mechanics. So the warrior can do stuff like he holds a shield above his head and can glide, which totally makes sense. A giant heavy shield can be used as a glider, right? Obviously. And the mage can take his things and like blast them down, like and smash through things, and I don't know what else he can do because I only played like less than an hour or something. And the thief can like attach a rope to one thing and then pull that with the rope and attach it to another thing. So, and there's one instance where you have to attach a rope to a door, a swinging door that'll close as soon as you let go. Pull the door open, wrap that rope around a pillar and back onto the same door, and that keeps the door open for you to go through. It's just like, you know, they've just added a few extra cool mechanics I didn't expect so far, and there'll surely be more.
Yeah, and you'll have to understand, remember what those mechanics are to be able to progress through the game. At least some of the basics, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. That sounds like something that eventually
Definitely
one
sounds
day,
fun.
when it goes on sale, you know, a year from now, a year and a half from now, I'll probably pick it up.
Yeah. It's $20, by the way, just point that out. So still expensive for an early access game this early on, but it comes with modding tools. You open launcher, the first option says run editor, start Trine 3. So you can just open the editor and there are already some levels available for it and stuff like that. So that's
And
pretty
given
cool.
given the quality of the past games, if $20 remains the price once it's out of early access and available, you know, the full 1.0, it'd probably be a pretty good bargain.
Mm-hmm. So the next news item is Mario Kart 8's Animal Crossing DLC has been released. And OPNerd obviously does not appreciate. But I have been playing the crap out of that, and it's awesome. End of story. Alright, on the next thing. No. The Mario Kart 8 Animal Crossing DLC, it's very similar to the last DLC. It's got 8 carts, 8 tracks, 4 carts, and 3 characters. So it's the same sort of format, but it's really good. It's Nintendo standard quality. You know, they always do great stuff, and yeah, they sort of go above and beyond, as with all things they do, except for any PR or any customer support or anything like that. But with game development,
Or their consoles.
or the console, but with game
hardware you
development,
actually play their games on.
as they do with game development, the one thing they do right, they do it brilliantly. So
That is
there's like
true.
the Animal Crossing track itself. Every time you play, it'll randomly pick which season it's in, so it has like a fully reskinned track 4 times:
wow.
summer, winter, autumn, and spring. And then it's just they find to put dry Bowser in the game, and they put me in dog form in the game, so that's cool. Little blonde dog, I guess from Animal Crossing. So yeah, it's great. It's only $8 for the DLC. I don't know if you can still buy the pack of both DLCs, which is what I did back in the day. It was like $13, so it was cheaper, or $12. But yeah, it's really cheap, really high quality, a lot of content, 8 more tracks. So now the game has 48 tracks.
When Nintendo pulls their heads out of their butts and releases this for the PC, then I'll care. Until then, I'm not going to buy the Wii U or whatever to
You don't
play
want a
that game.
console?
As great as it might be, I'm sure it's the best kart game probably ever made. But
It is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Personally, I like the Streetle. I'm just throwing that out there.
You like what?
The Streetle.
What?
I'd probably feel a little bit like Patrick on that thing.
I
But
feel
I'm
like
just
you're saying. I feel like you're saying a real word, but that's like a common word that everybody would understand, and I'm not.
No,
I'm
actually,
dumb.
one of the
What do you say?
vehicles for the new content, right?
Oh.
It's a Streetle. Yeah.
Oh, the
it is.
Streetle.
The
Oh,
Streetle.
I thought you were saying like some kind of European, like, oh, the Streetle, yeah.
we
I
have
was like,
Treacle
what
for
is that?
breakfast every morning. Ah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, by far. Peach right there on Streetle, I'd win every time. I'm just saying.
At least I know who Peach is. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done with the news.
Yes.
So that was good. We actually got through it this time, amazingly, in like less than 15 minutes. So on to the main topic of today's podcast, which is mods.
Just something
As,
that I'm very excited to discuss, and recent events from this past week make it even more interesting than it would have.
Yeah, OPNerd is already the mod guru. That's what his entire stream has always revolved around. Is, hey, I'm going to take this game that most people just dick around in, and then they eventually finish the story. You know? And I'm just going to... It's going to be fully condensed content constantly for like 9 months or something.
Oh.
Just
hey.
because of mods. So, you can start, OP. This is your thing.
Well, okay. So first of all, and I've been playing PC games for a long, long time. One of the advantages to playing PC games on a PC as opposed to other platforms is the ability for many games to be modded. Mod being short for modification or modified, depending on how you're using it. A lot of times, mod support is provided by the game developers. For example, Bethesda is very well known for actually creating tools that they then release to the public, so that you can create new content for games like Oblivion, Fallout, Skyrim, etc. For Skyrim, it's called the Creation Kit, and for Oblivion, it was the World Editor. Way back in the day, probably before some of you even watching this or maybe even participating were born. I used to play a lot of Doom, the first person shooter from id Software. And although there wasn't any official modding tools for the game from id Software, there were tools made by people, that made it easy to make mods, whether you wanted to make your own maps, whether you wanted to change the textures in the game and add weapons. Mods in general have allowed a game to remain popular for a lifespan that that goes well beyond what the game would have.
Like brings life back into it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and keeps it alive. I mean, Skyrim is probably one of the most modded, if not the most modded game ever on PC. It's been out for over 3 years now. It came out in November of 2011, so 3.5 years ago, and
Yeah.
it's as popular. It's still, if you look at it on the Steam statistics for games that people play on Steam, and Skyrim requires Steam. So unless you're playing an illegal copy, they know when people are playing Skyrim. It's still up there. It's generally within the top 20 games that have been played. Sometimes within the top 10, depending on what's going on, especially if there's a new and
A new
popular
mod.
mod for the game. So that I think has been uh, the thing when people have talked about, oh, PC gaming is dead, the consoles are the way to go. I think that's one of the things, not the only thing, but one of the big things that has kept PC gaming strong. And even this early into the cycle of the lives of the next generation consoles is still causing it to surge ahead overall in game sales. Yeah, I mean, sure, compared to some games, Call of Duty might sell more than certain PC exclusive titles, but as a whole, when you look at the income generated by game sales, the
Mhm.
PC leads the way because of that diversity and because of the fact that games that came out 3 years ago or 2 years ago are still selling because of the modifications that are released for those games.
You know what? I just thought of. You were talking about comparing it to consoles. Some consoles have exclusive DLC, and this is
Oh,
extending
sure.
to even stores. You can get Walmart exclusive skins and things like that for games now. It's completely ridiculous. But you could be like, oh, this means the PS4 version of uh, Duke Nukem Forever, the best game ever, is clearly superior to the Xbox One version, so everybody buys that. But on PC always has more DLC, but for free at the moment. It has
Well,
more content,
the big
always,
difference
because of
is
mods, as long as
with what
modding is supported.
Yeah, with what you're mentioning there, the big difference is though is that anything available for the consoles has been cleared by and authorized by either the console manufacturer or the game developer. And I know there are some games like I don't know how it works. I know some of the Halo games allowed you to like modify the game maps. You could add elements and a few
That was
different
with
things to
Forge,
some
I believe.
multiplayer.
It was with a tool
Yeah.
called Forge, I believe, inside of it.
Yeah, but the difference is that for the PC, these modifications, these things that are in many cases as good as or even surpass the quality of paid for DLC, they're made by your average everyday Joe that figures things out. I mean, people that have talent and or technical know-how, sometimes a case of both. They're made by guys just like you and me. Like I have made mods. Granted, it's been a long time ago, and they were for games, and they were mods that were a lot simpler than some of the things that are available for today's games. But I mean, the tools are there. The ability for anybody to create a mod for a game is out there. The only thing you really need to worry about these days are if it's an online multiplayer game. A lot of those games use anti-cheat systems, and in some cases, those mods are meant to give you an advantage. So you have to be careful because if you use, say you created a mod for Counter-Strike, well, odds are it's a cheat. They don't like anything running with Counter-Strike that shouldn't be running, and you risk getting your account banned. But when it comes to especially single-player content, whether it's a new gun for a shooter or a new quest for an RPG, you know, tools are out there so that if somebody says, "Hey, I like Skyrim. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a little adventure where you can do this?" They can make that. They can get together with a group of people and make that a reality. It puts the power and those tools into the hands of the consumer to extend the life of the games that they love.
It kind of, in a way, now that you mention that, it gives the power to the consumers. It's almost a popularity contest at that point. The most popular games are going to get the most mod support and are going to be built up and up and up and up, which is not a bad thing. I say it like a bad thing. It's popularity contest. Everybody hates that term. But the most popular games are going to live on just because people love them and will love to make content for them. And I prefer to build things from the ground up, reinvent the wheel, and my wheel ends up like this. But even I've made mods sometimes, just back in the day on Oblivion, especially. They were always shit, but it's a really fun pastime as well. It's like it's not only rewarding for the people who play the game to get extra content, it's also rewarding for the developer because they're going to sell more copies as the game survives for a longer time and is still in the public eye, is going to be sold more. But it's rewarding for the person who's doing the modding in the first place. So
Absolutely.
it's just such a great thing.
Yeah, actually, I 100% agree with that. Like most of the mods that actually come out, it's a little bit for like a self, like yes, I got this achieved, or like whenever they hear all the comments and the feedback. a lot of that is the reason why they mod. They don't necessarily do it just for all the money, right?
No,
So,
everybody does everything only for money.
oh yeah, yeah. Trump,
Did,
Trump.
And
didn't you know?
somebody in chat, Specifictus, asked, "Do you think mods for Skyrim and he mentions and other games contributed to its success?" Absolutely. People, not as many people would be playing Skyrim as there are still now on PC if it were not for the ridiculously expansive modding community that exists for that game. At this point, if you think, boy, wouldn't it be cool or funny if there was this in Skyrim? By this point, there's already a mod for that. Trust me.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of like, so some of my favorite mods that I found for Skyrim, like the Chocobo mod.
Check.
What?
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah, if you're a
then
Final Fantasy fan, I'm sure.
there you go. And then what about that cat lion type class, right? Ronzo, I think is what the mod is for it.
See, those are all
Uh,
nice mods, but clearly the best mod, as for all of Boot Loops mentioned in the chat, very very lovingly mentioned in the chat, is the horse genitals mod, the best
gotta have
mod.
it.
Well, it's been the big topics, the ultimate. I think you should delve into this regarding mods and specifically mods for Skyrim. There was a big kerfuffle that's happened over the past week, and I think we should just dive right into that because
Yeah,
it'll color the rest of our discussion regarding mods.
it'll probably be the entire rest of the discussion other than little tidbits. As most of you probably already know, I know these two guys, where are they, over there on the podcast? I don't know. These two guys already know, almost everybody in the chat already knows, but you may not know the full story, and you may not know our opinions on it. That's what we're here for. Valve, well, everybody just thought Valve immediately. Valve and Bethesda decided to start giving the option to sell mods on Steam. So if you made a mod, if you already have an existing mod, or if you're going to make a mod, they gave you the ability to put it up on Steam for $1, $10 million, whatever. And it was a great big explosion. And hashtag we did it Reddit. Throw your fedoras in the air, right?
There are certain causes that nerds just gravitate towards. They get all
And it's not starving
riled
children
up
in
over
Africa
it.
or anything like that.
No,
Yeah, who
no,
cares about it?
no.
Are they in my video? Are
Look,
these stopping me from playing video
I
games?
have to pay for this mod. I have to pay to have Randy Savage as a dragon in Skyrim now. Are you kidding me? Oh,
Yeah.
they were up in arms over that.
So, to give a basic rundown of the system, just to make this clear so everybody understands, mod developer makes mod, puts it on Steam. There's no kind of vetting process or verification that it even works or that it fits the description you give or anything like that. Put it on Steam. It's a mod. You choose whether to put it for free, pay what you want with a minimum price of like 30 cents or something, so you can't do pay what you want starting at zero, and a set price. Okay? It sounds okay, right? All right. The paid mods, here's how I would imagine it from that perspective. The paid mods have a flat price would be something like Skywind, which isn't done yet, by the way. But this is, if Skywind ever got done, a complete reimagining of Morrowind in Skyrim, that would be a mod you could not get for free. Unless there was a free version and it'd be separate and it'd be limited and stuff like that. There's no way those people would do so much work and like pay voice actors and stuff unless they're taking the crappy quality voices from Morrowind originally. That have to make money from it. They're paying people who've probably got a decent sized team to actually make this, taking years and years. That would cost money. Then the mods that would be pay what you want would be like pretty high quality swords and little dungeons and things like that. If you can get it for free, or you can pay 30 cents, $1 to get a dungeon that takes a couple of hours. That's cool. Or you could pay 1 cent to get a sword, right? Because who's going to actually pay for swords more than a tiny amount? And then
you
the
gotta
free
have the magic
mods.
swords.
Yeah, exactly. The free mods would just be all the garbage that everybody, horse genitals and random nude mods and all that. Well, maybe nude mods will sell. I don't know. People really want those nude mods. That's like kids who get their internet monitored by their
I'm
parents.
sure they're willing to pay for them too.
Yeah. But
Sex sells, right?
But amazingly, Steam, Valve, and Bethesda suddenly springing this on everyone didn't quite work out as I just described. It's close. It's close, right? But not quite. So the biggest problem I've seen, there are tons of problems, ranging from the stupid And if you hold this in the chat, I'm not talking about you. If you just keep watching my podcast, the stupid being, but mods have always been free, and nobody should do mods for money. I want my mods for free. All the way up to, holy crap, Valve and Bethesda are taking 75%.
That's my big one.
Yeah, that's the biggest one for me as well. 75% of the price of the mod goes to Valve and Bethesda now.
So if you sell your mod for $1,
you get
as the mod
25
maker, you
cents.
get 25 cents.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But the split was actually explained eventually. Valve gets 30%, which
they get on everything they sell on Steam, basically.
Yeah,
if you sell your game on Steam for $20, Valve gets $6 of that.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's fair or not. It's hard to say. It is the industry standard and all, but you've got to take into consideration that there's an extra cut being taken here, not just the 30%. So 30% is taken from Valve. They give you the site, the platform to sell it on. They give you the infrastructure to take your mod and put it on a store. They have all the review systems and all that shit. And they're the platform with all the games, and they're the leading platform as far as popularity goes on PC. So maybe their 30% is worth it, maybe it's not. That's up to you. I don't know. Then 45%. 45% is taken by Bethesda. And this is an optional, Bethesda could choose whatever. They could take 0% if they wanted. Obviously that's ridiculous. But they chose 45% of the profit from mods to go to them. Which, what does Bethesda do? They make the game. That is your platform for the mod. That's a pretty huge deal. They make the modding
that
tools.
Have spent 5 years in development in some
Yeah,
cases.
True.
Yeah. They
So
make the
did
modding
sweat
tools.
for this.
Yeah, they make the modding tools. In a sense, their game is your popularity platform for the mod as well, because if you have a popular game, it's that publisher / developer that gave you that popular game to mod. Otherwise, nobody knows. If you make your mod for Duke Nukem Forever, literally no one will ever play your mod. Even if you sell it, you won't ever sell a copy. No one
Hey, I would have
will
bought
buy
it.
Well, you're a monkey.
You mean to tell me you didn't
I meant,
like killing the big old monsters?
I meant no
in
humans.
3D?
But I'm totally gonna play Duke Nukem and Duke Nukem Forever at some point. But yeah. So that it's like they do a lot. You couldn't possibly make that mod for that game, at least, without the game being made, right? But 45%. I don't know. I think it should be lower. But it's when you take those two cuts, 30 and 45%. And the modder is left with 25%. And then Valve phrases are like, a new way to support modders. With 25% of the profit.
No.
I
They take
will
the
probably
smallest
have
cut.
one of these slightly more unpopular stances on this entire subject, in that personally, I have no problem with mod makers having the opportunity to make money and to charge for their content.
Oh, absolutely.
I pay for stuff that is free all the time. For the longest time, up until recently, because I haven't been broadcasting recently, but every month I would send the creators of OBS some money. Because I use the product and I appreciated it, and I wanted them to be able to keep making it better. It was worth that money to me, even though I could continue to use it for free without any feelings of guilt or obligation, no problems. And I have nothing against people that, have always used it for free and will always use it for free as long as it's a viable piece of software to use. But, when I put in a lot of work into something and I feel that my time and effort is worth some monetary compensation, I have no problems asking somebody, say, hey, if you want this, great. If you want me to help out, I'm more than willing to and able to, but we need to discuss, the monetary side of things. And if they're of the mindset, well, hey, whatever reason you should do it for free. Like, okay, I'm sure you can find somebody else that'll do it for free, but I'm not the guy. So I don't have a problem with it. The implementation of it was problematic, and certainly the split of the funds, I think the mod makers should get more, again, because they're putting a lot of their time and effort. Granted, they're using existing assets, and the other parties involved, yes, they certainly should have their share. Everybody's going to have their own idea of what an equitable share would be, because to a certain degree it is an arbitrary line that you have to draw somewhere. But I was not upset in the least bit that it was going to be, that it was going to happen, that they were
Mm.
going to start charging for them, because there are some, I've played a ton of Skyrim. There have been some mods that I thoroughly enjoyed and would have been happy, even if I never played them again. Even if I never played Skyrim again, I'd say, you know what, I had a lot of time playing your mod. I played it twice through two different playthroughs. So here's $5. Thanks for your time and effort. A lot of people, I'm sure, are going to disagree, and there's a precedent for that. Mods basically have always been free because, the mod maker using somebody's assets does not have the rights to charge for content for which they are not the sole owners and creators. And Bethesda, was breaking new ground and allowing that to happen. It's unfortunate that this initial implementation did not work out well. I'm willing to bet that it's something that we're going to see in the future.
Oh yeah. Valve, in case you guys don't know, just to provide a back end to this, Valve did take down the paid mods, seemingly without telling Bethesda about it, because just a few hours before that, Bethesda had made a big blog post saying, "Hey, this is why we're doing paid mods, and this is an explanation of everything." And then they had to edit it like an hour or two later, saying, "After discussion with Valve and listening to our community, paid mods are being removed from the Steam Workshop." So that was a bit interesting, but it really comes down to charging for mods were previously free. Now they're charging for them. That's bad. That's change rather. Change is bad. Everybody knows. So let's all make Reddit threads about it and rage and get them to change it back because we don't like change. That's what it is. So let's
But
keep doing that, guys.
a lot of what OP was saying, I kind of agree with. You like the mod. Why not show a little bit of support to kind of help them out to get through? They put hours into it. They took time out to show you the joy and everything. But the platform is wrong with the way Valve brought it out.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, I'm thinking maybe something with like Patron. Say you want to do a one-time donation that way, or if they're trying to really boost out some sort of content, right? You can consistently try to give them support that way, or do some sort of PayPal donation. But the whole little Valve thing, I think Valve wants to get their hands in the pockets, and same a little bit for the developers, maybe a little bit, but not so much, because it is just like, just random people, the modders, I guess we'll call them the modders. They're sitting there coming up with these ideas to bring it to the public. So I
Yeah,
mean, I feel like they should have a bigger portion. Valve, step back a little bit. The person that made the game, Batista, or whatever
Bethesda.
company it
Yeah.
is, yeah, Bethesda, step back a little bit, give a little credit where credit is due.
Yeah, in the end, Bethesda and Valve are providing platforms, for the mod to be created and for the mod to be sold. But the modder is the one creating the actual content. So sure, Bethesda and Valve deserve a share of the profit overall from mods. And I was actually thinking things like maybe if a mod sells more copies or something, they could take a smaller percentage. I don't know, things like that exist in other industries, so that they're not taking huge amounts of money from these people who are generating them huge amounts of money. But yeah, in the end, Valve and Bethesda are the ones, and Valve and the game devs, since it's surely going to come back. The paid mods are easily startled, but they'll be back, and in greater numbers. The paid mods will come back on another game, probably on Valve's own games, I would say. They're just the platforms, so giving only 25% to the one actually making the content is pretty ridiculous, in my opinion.
I um I have to wonder exactly how much time and thought and possibly market research, if any, went into the implementation of this system. There had to be some, because obviously they had to have all the pieces in place so that somebody could put up their content for sale. But other than the technical aspect and the user interface aspect, I almost have to wonder how much time and thought they really, really put into this, because any sort of filler, put out there for the community, hey, we're thinking about doing this. We're thinking about allowing for paid mods on Steam. What do you guys, the people that use our service, think, there would have been a lot of backlash, a lot of people saying, "Hey, it's horrible," and it doesn't seem to me like they spent a lot of time getting that feedback beforehand, because that might have smoothed things over to the point where, even though people would still be bitching about it, they would have kept it in place. A lot of people were very, very dissatisfied and angry with the fact that when Half-Life 2 came out, you had to have Steam.
Hmm.
That's how Steam launched,
That's how
was with the
people
launch of
hated
Half-Life
Steam,
2.
yeah,
And Steam was
because it was
horrible. Steam
necessary.
was going to be the end of PC gaming. And as you were mentioning earlier, Ultimate Nerd, now it's the most popular platform. So I'm just thinking, had they been able to make the launch a little bit smoother, it would still be available. And a year from now, we wouldn't even be having this discussion. It would seem like a normal thing. Yeah, sure, some mods are free and some mods
Yeah.
you can pay
And
for.
it wouldn't even be some mods are free. It would be most mods are free. Because
Yes,
who
it's
is
true.
really going to buy a sword for $1? Unless it's an amazing sword, or it's officially like, or it's a set of swords or whatever. Who's going to buy a sword for $1? It's completely ridiculous. So it's the sort of voting with your wallet system where it was experimental. Modders didn't know how much to sell their mods for, or they wouldn't if this kept continuing. And gamers wouldn't know how much mods are worth, so they wouldn't be sure. But most people wouldn't buy the shitty mods. Most people, they get the refunds on the shitty mods. It's a 24-hour refund, although it's a bit of a pain with the Steam market. It bugs you up for a week. So all those shitty mods, people are like, oh, mods, everything's gonna cost some amount of money. If they don't sell, they won't cost anything anymore. It's just like it's like, take for instance indie games. When indie games first started being big, like World of Goo was a really big indie game, and like especially for the time, it was amazing that like one guy could make this huge game, and then Braid and
Who
Fairs
cares?
and so, or two guys, whatever. Oh, who cares about the developers? Nobody needs to know about those. But indie games were still being worked out. It's like indie games can't sell for the same price as a AAA game, right? Because that has 100 people or more working on it, and it takes a year. Well, indie games still take years, but it has millions of dollar budget and all that kind of stuff. So how much are indie games worth? And as it turns out, people try, and it's like on the iPhone store, people trying to sell shitty games for $10. They don't sell a game for $1. Yeah, they've found proper pricing for everything. So people worried about these shitty mods, like, oh, every mod's gonna cost something. People wouldn't buy them, and then they'd be free again. Maybe it'd take a little while for everything to settle out, but there would be a gentle curve of shit mods, really small mods, decent mods, kind of, there's a dungeon or something here, and the huge mods way over here actually costing $5 or $10 even. I don't know. $10 is probably a bit extreme for just one mod, but for Skywind and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure it would have all been worked out.
Let's see. Speaking of Skywind, there was this mod that I seen created by a 19-year-old 25-hour Skyrim mod. Apparently like 20 or 2,000 hours building the land of Farseer or Farskar. I'm not
False,
exactly sure.
false star,
Full scope.
false
There you
star.
go. Yeah, which is one third the size of the world of Skyrim. Just one kid did it, and he did it for a career job. But just the content of it, it was like a whole new DLC made by one dude.
Yeah, OPNerd, you played that, didn't you? And if I can
Yes.
remember, you hated it, didn't you?
I do not like false star, but that it doesn't in any way minimize the amount of time and effort that went into that. I think there was a lot more time and effort that should have gone into it to make it what, in my opinion, would have been a much higher quality mod. But as Monkey pointed out, one of the motivations for the person that created this, I can't remember his name, was to show the game industry as a
Alexander G.
whole. Alexander something, yeah, was to show the game industry as a whole, look what I can do. I have skill, I have talent.
Look at
Put me
my
on a
horse. My
team,
horse is
put me on
amazing.
a put me on a team and pay me to do this, and I can do this. And he was hired not by Bethesda. I don't remember what company he went to work for, although it's definitely a recognizable name. It might have been Ubisoft, but either way, he did get hired. He did get a job, and so all that time and effort, for him paid off. And while he'll probably, most likely, never make money from Falscar, he's now making money doing something that I would imagine, hopefully, that he enjoys, and that's for a lot of people in the modding community. They're not doing it necessarily to get a job if they get an offer or those discussions comes up. I'm sure that's great. But they love showing the community what they can do. I created a couple of maps for Duke Nukem 3D back in the day when that came out. There was an editor that actually shipped with the game. It was the tools were made officially available by 3D Realms, I believe was the publisher at the time. And I remember, and this was even before like internet access was widely available in homes. At that time, we were still using bulletin board systems or, God forbid, America Online. And I remember spending a good 3 weeks, which to me was a long time, tweaking this particular multiplayer uh, deathmatch map for Duke Nukem 3D and uploading it. Okay, well, we can hear her. Okay. Anyway, so I spent 3 weeks making this mod and finally felt it was finished to the point where I could upload it to a BBS. And then I waited and waited and waited. And after about a week of being available, I got about 20, 25 messages on this bulletin board where I made available
Oh,
where people were saying, this is a really good map. My friends and I love playing deathmatch on this map because I tried to make it like a real world location. I made it like a warehouse that had multiple levels and offices and like conveyor belts and machinery, and try to make it look like a real world place. And people really liked it. And I think for a lot of the mod makers, the fact that they create something that other people can enjoy, I think for most of them, that's their primary motivation. They got some enjoyment out of the game. They want to add to that.
100% agree. 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think many people mod uh, purely for profit, especially because of how little profit there is right now. Up until a week ago, and then 2 days ago or yesterday, or whatever, when it got removed, the only way modders could make money was from donations, and that was very iffy the whole time. Because they were working on somebody else's game, it was content for Bethesda's or whoever's game. So it was legal or not. Nobody really, people don't really know that. Who knows? Probably illegal to sell content for somebody else's thing. I don't know. Maybe not. But Bethesda could probably have stamped it out. If people were making serious money from it, if they wanted to. But they let it go. Finally, there was a platform to legitimately make money, and everybody, the game developer, Valve, and the modder were all in on it. So that was nice. Oh well. It's gone now.
It'll be
For
back.
now.
It'll be
Yeah,
back
Yeah.
in some other much more thought out, tweaked form.
You know what? I think Valve usually takes an experimental approach to things. Like CS:GO came out like 2.5 years ago now or something,
S-
and
Really,
and
I'm
it
old.
wasn't
Time flies by, I don't
people.
know.
People hated it. Everyone was like, "No, fuck this! I'm going back to CS 1.6. CS:GO is such a piece of garbage. Nobody's gonna play this shitty game." And other people were like, "Oh, it's just Counter Strike again. I still don't give a shit," and whatever. And now it's one of the most popular games, certainly on PC, and it's a massive esport now. It's the
Yeah,
first-person shooter.
it's
Back
always in
then,
that first row on Twitch TV,
yeah,
somewhere.
back when CS:GO launched, Call of Duty was like the
that's
first
true.
person shooter esport. It wasn't very big. Esports weren't even that very big
Hey,
back then, but it was posed to become. But
what about Halo? Don't forget about Halo. This is my game right here. Okay, don't forget Halo.
yeah, maybe with the new Halo Online that's eventually coming out. Never. Um,
No,
but yeah,
it's right there.
yeah, exactly. But Valve is usually very experimental about how they do things, and with this, it was experimental, but it was so far ahead of what they should have been. Like, they've done. You can make skins for CS:GO, and if Valve likes them, if they get voted on by the community and everything, then they can get added to the game published, they call it, and then you can make money. So that's like the first step of selling mods, right? Is that you can make mods, and if the community and Valve like them, then Valve will sell them in the game as official mods for or skins for the game, right? That's sort of the first step. I don't know what the next step would have been. Maybe minor mods, or even just this kind of market thing for mods being applied to Valve's own games. But damn, they went just full in with no warning at all. They're just like, all right, everyone, you can buy and sell mods, yeah! And everyone went,
Well, the pay what you want model with a minimum price, that's worked really, really well for the Humble Bundle. Because of course you always have those people that pay $1, and I'm sure in some cases less, for what is usually, a bundle of games that's worth a lot more. And then you have the people that pay $100 because they're supporting the cause. They're supporting these charities more than anything. They probably don't even necessarily care about the games half the times, and sometimes people donate a lot more than that. And using a similar system, I think, for pay what you want for these mods. Again, you're going to have people that pay 5 cents and 10 cents, and then you have somebody that's going to pay $5 and $10 because they say, "Hey, you know what? I really like this mod you made. I would like to see you have the opportunity to create more cool stuff. So here you go. Hopefully, this will support. It may not even be through Steam for most games. It makes sense for Skyrim because
Hmm.
Skyrim requires that you have a Steam account to play it. But for other platforms, EA is big on doing things their way.
Uh-huh.
They're not all that big on allowing people to mod their games, but if they ever allow to do it, and The Sims is a perfect example
But
of
when
that.
they smell money,
Yeah, Sims does have a big modding community, which is very well supported by EA, and I'm sure, I have no idea how much money that they make from it, but the fact that all these other people are doing work that they can profit from, I'm sure they're happy to get, any cut from that that they can. So it already, this already exists. If you play Team Fortress 2, if you've ever purchased an item in Team Fortress 2, just a pretty popular game on Steam, there's a pretty good chance that you're paying for content that was created by some non-Valve employee, some guy that said, "Hey, this would be a cool hat
I didn't even know
to
that.
have in the game." So it went through that. Yeah, so it went through that approval process, like you just talked about. It's basically the same process that they have for Counter Strike.
Shows how much
And
research I did for this podcast.
yeah, I mean
What a
they've
disgrace.
bragged. I mean they've bragged about how much um, the modding community has made from items for Team Fortress 2. So, and I don't know the number, but it's a fairly large and appreciable amount. And there have been some people that have been successful enough that they've kind of pushed their day jobs off to the side and spend as much time as they can trying to create weapons, hats, whatever the case may be for Team Fortress 2, because the marketplace for that is very, very solid and profitable. So this is not something new that Valve is trying. They were just I think Skyrim may not have been, well, no, I'm not even, no, maybe Skyrim was the best game to try to launch this with, but just not in the way that they did. But it already exists. Paying for user made mods
Free labor.
is, yeah, it's already out there. It exists with other games, and it's just a matter of time before it becomes more widespread.
I think the question of whether they should have launched this with Skyrim is more of a question of whether they should have launched it on a pre-existing modding community that is used to getting all of their content for free, and then taking some of it and not forcing, but sort of inadvertently locking that content behind a paywall, being like, "Hey, all that stuff that you've had for free until now you have to pay for some of it." Should you do that, or should you launch it with a new game that comes out, like I don't know, Evolve? Or they just launched that a little while ago. Imagine if they had launched this with Evolve. People would have hated it even more. They already hated the
Or
DLC. They
the
would have hated
new
H1Z1.
or H1Z1.
the new Fable game that's coming out. I don't know much about that, but I mean RPGs are
Oh,
always
that's not a
ripe
Fable
for
game.
mods. So,
It may be
okay.
a good game, but it's not a Fable game. I
Well,
actually,
okay, I don't know.
as a very quick side thing, I had Major Iris is a internet friend of mine, and she used to work for Lionhead. I think. I don't think she works for them anymore. But
Peter Molyneux's studios, yeah.
yeah, she found my stream when I was doing Fable 3 on the launch, doing a 24-hour thing, and she was like, "Oh, have you heard about Fable whatever it is that the new game that's coming out?" I was like, "Oh, no, what is it?" I'm like, oh, well, it's an Xbox exclusive. I was like, oh, I don't give a shit. But apparently it's Xbox and Windows 10 now. So, but I was like, I looked at it, I was like, it doesn't really look like Fable. It looks like they took some kind of dungeon adventure game where it's like you know, you can explore around the world and all that. And then when you're actually playing the combat, you enter into a dungeon and you play in this sort of instance and you make your way through it. And it's a little puzzle. Like, maybe it's cool, but it doesn't look like Fable. Looks like they took another game idea and were like, and it's Fable. There you go. And the Major Iris was like,
World of Warcraft.
I don't know what I called it, but it's anyway. I don't know what I called it, but it's the Major Iris was like, oh no, it's totally a Fable game. Don't worry, it's got so much Fable in it. And I was like, okay. And she was like, take a look at this video, and it was like a 26-minute interview with one of the developers. And about halfway through, he was like, yeah, we basically took this idea for this dungeon adventure game, this little comic game, and then we're like, we'll put in the Fable stuff later. I don't know, we'll figure it out. He was like, yeah, right now it's not really Fable, but we'll put some Fable stuff in it later, I guess. I was just like, I figured you out! It's not Fable. Don't try to trick me. I'm the only person left in the world who actually likes Fable anyway. I don't know why they bothered putting the license on it.
So obviously I chose a poor example, but yeah, there are plenty of new games coming out, and I'm sure some of which will be eminently moddable, whether because the developers don't really care if people create mods for it, or if they do something like Bethesda and make the modding tools available to the community. I mean, Bethesda not only makes the tools available, they put together when they were releasing the creation kit, because the creation kit for Skyrim was released roughly 2 or 3 months after the game came out. So not only did they make the tools available, they even created tutorial videos, a series of like 9 tutorial videos. Here's how you use these tools. Here's how you can create a dungeon, and here's how you would do scripting so that a certain event triggers when somebody walks into this part of the dungeon, things like that. That, unfortunately, and I think this is probably a good point of discussion, maybe as we're wrapping things up here, a lot of developers and publishers are not at all keen on the idea of people modding their games.
Mm-hmm.
One reason for that is that they would like to be, I think, the sole source for any additional content for a game so that they can monetize it, so that they are the sole. Yeah.
It also allows for exploits too. It opens up windows for exploits.
It's a question of whether it's a single player or multiplayer game at that point, though.
Yeah.
What
because
mods should be allowed?
Yeah, for multiplayer games, absolutely, exploits are a problem. And regardless of how much you try to fight people that will create cheats for multiplayer games, things like Valve's anti-cheat system and the one that the Bohemia Interactive uses, Battle something, Battle I think it's called. No matter what you do, people will find ways to circumvent and use those cheats. But for single player games, I mean, the sky, yeah, and who cares? I mean, if you cheat your way through the game, oh well. As far as I'm concerned, you've only robbed yourself of a good experience, but you're not hurting anybody else. But more importantly, you're getting a lot of additional content, new guns, new maps. I mean, for me these days, if a game can be modded, especially in ways that I think will make the experience better for me when I play through it, I will. I have never played unmodded Skyrim. I bought Skyrim just after it came out, but I waited until there were some graphic mods available because I'm playing it on PC, and the PC, got a nice graphic cards, can handle higher resolution textures. I waited until there was a nice library of graphic mods available before I played Skyrim, had all those loaded up, a few other tweaks like Sky UI and saddlebags for my horse. I've never played vanilla Skyrim, nor do I care to. A lot of developers want to be the people to provide you with any additional content for a game so that they get all of the money. I mean, I guess they're protecting their investment. I don't know. That's one way to look at it. If you're
make sure the DLC sells if there's no other content.
Right. But I think I don't think they take the time to look and see that, oh, hey, you know what? This past weekend on Steam, in case anybody didn't know, Skyrim was on sale for $5 for the base edition. I think it was $10 for everything. And it sold a bunch of copies. And a game that Bethesda published 3.5 years ago just made them a shit ton of money because there's this vibrant modding community for the game. And I think a lot of developers have this tunnel vision. They're blind to this idea that mods can perpetuate sales for their properties years after release. I mean, until EA shut down the servers for Battlefield 2, it had a strong community, particularly with a mod called Project Reality that made the game much more hardcore and much more realistic for those people that played that. And EA was still making money from people that bought the game so they could play the modded Project Reality version. That you guys can talk now.
Yeah, you sort of just cut off. I was like, wait, are you
Oh,
done?
did I? Oh, sorry.
No, it wasn't internet or anything, but you just finished a sentence, but without changing tones. Like, normally you start the sentence like this, and then you end it like this. And you were just like,
Okay.
blah, 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 blah. I was just like, wait,
I'm
huh?
done. I'm done. I made my
It's making sure we all got our little points in there for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway,
But man, you've covered like almost every nook and cranny of it. Like almost can't add anything to that.
Oh,
No,
I could do.
it's
I could go on for 2 more hours.
it's
about
difficult on this podcast because OPNerd and I have a dynamic where we can both just talk constantly for like a few hours about anything. So we just start talking over each other. It's like, okay, it's my turn now. Shut up. Blah 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 blah. You know, cut it. Let me cut in here. It's like, hold on, I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce has the best music video of all time. That's how we do things around here. So you're learning, Stealth Monkey. Anyway, if you do have anything to say, we'll give you a couple of seconds here because we'll go to the Q&A right after this. I think we're pretty much done. Give Stealth Monkey a second to say anything he has, and then any questions you guys have, go ahead and start asking them in the chat. Anything at all, preferably about mods, but whatever. All right, Stealth Monkey. Anything?
Me question?
Anything to say?
Games
Anything
that you particularly enjoyed more, or that you got back into because of mods that were available for them?
Yeah, or do you just
Hmm.
or any fuck valves you want to say, or no modders shouldn't get their money? Counter us.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry about no. Pretty much, they do need to readjust their whole strat on trying to give modders their money and to get money themselves. I mean, like I said, so currently they just need to do Patreon and some sort of donation along those lines. Overall, like I still enjoy the free mods, but there's been a couple of mods that I drop them a couple of money. Plus, like people that do mods for Minecraft, Ultimate. You like the Minecraft, didn't you? Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
I
But
didn't
yeah,
think about
AdFly.
that.
Some people that did the texture packs, right? They went along that way. So I definitely think that go that way. AdFly, Patreon, PayPal, along those lines. Overall, I mean, the rest of it's up to you guys. But like that part in general is more about what I centralized today.
Yeah. You know what? There is actually, I can't remember his name or exactly what game he's working on or whatever, but he was an industry professional, worked for game studios, and then he went indie, but working on mods, and he's got a Patreon, and he's making his living on Patreon while working on mods full-time for games. I've only vaguely heard about it, so I don't know the details. But yeah, there is actually there's one guy
Wait.
who's living like you want people to be able to, that kind of system. So, need more. I don't know. I prefer.
Well,
Oh, yeah, you
I
go
mean,
ahead.
awareness is going to be the key to make a living. I mean, you can make the best mods for the most popular game. If people aren't aware that they're available, people aren't going to buy them and be willing to support you. And that's happened, with the visibility that the Steam Workshop provides
Mhm.
for a mod for any type of game. I mean, I remember when the Steam Workshop launched. I mean, like Skyrim was its poster boy for the system, and there were a handful of other games that supported it. And now there are several games that I'm surprised now have Steam Workshop support, including games that have been around for a while. And they said, "Oh, this will be an easy way for people to integrate mods into our game," and so they make that available. So it's only a matter of time before Valve and the publishers whom they want to work with as a dev finalize the details and say, okay, here's how it's going to work, and then at that point, I think they're going to need to stick to their guns because the backlash will rise up again. All the people on Reddit will get their virtual pitchforks and march on Washington D.C. and demand that mods be made free, or else, and then there's nothing after the or else, because when you call
Yeah.
their bluff, they're like, well, I guess I'll go back to,
I'm
you
just a
know,
troll on the internet. I don't
yeah,
actually back up what I say.
exactly. So they'll need to stick to their guns, and just the way they shoved Steam down our throats when they released Half-Life 2, they're going to say, look, we're just putting the system out there. If somebody wants to charge for their mod, either don't buy it or
Hmm.
take that issue up with them, or you're concerned with the price. This is, I think, the I think it is the best model available for mods, particularly for the people that have the skill and the technological know-how. Because I think if you can only do this for, unless you have no need for money, you can only do this for so long before you can move on. You were talking earlier about how some of these mods take years and years to develop.
Yeah,
Well, the
like
reason is
Volscar.
they have people rotating in and out, because it's like, okay, I've been spending so much time on this, and it's great and it's fun, but I've got to do
Yeah,
other things. There are other things that take priority. But when you suddenly say, well, here's some money, keep doing it, then they might think twice and stick
yeah. How
around
many
and just
modders?
finish a project.
How many
I see
modders
that.
start doing a mod off and stop? Or yeah, and I'm talking talented modders, or dropping on a mod project like Skywind or Volscar or whatever. Well, Volscar was a one-man thing, but that kind of thing, and then quit after a year of working on it because they're not getting anything out of it. Talented people who could do this kind of thing full time if there were an infrastructure for it. How many modders work a full time job and in their spare time spend all of their spare time working on a mod? I would say very few, but the few that do just aren't getting anything from it. It's like, it's think of Twitch streamers. You can think of it like Twitch streamers. Some Twitch, and there are plenty of Twitch streamers. They work full time job and then they just spend all of their time streaming, and they're preparing for the stream and they're doing their stream and they're researching stuff for their stream and they're watching other people's streams, just trying to network stuff, and they never get partnership, and they just never get anything from it. They don't get that many donations or whatever. It's kind of like that for modders, except it's even less. They get nothing. They don't even get donations because it's like on some obscure website somewhere else, or you have to read all the way through the Steam description to find a link to their website so that you can find a link to their donation thing, right? Nobody donates to modders. There's like a minuscule number of people who have ever donated to modders. So having an infrastructure set and standard that anyone can make a mod, and if people like your mod, you can make money from it. I think that's fairly important. Of course, the Patreon thing is probably more specific cases, like what Stealth Monkey said. But I think that could be a serious thing for a lot of people as well. It's just like most YouTube partners just make money from ads. But then there's Jim Sterling, who has no ads on his main series, Jimquisition and stuff, but he makes thousands of dollars from Patreon because he's one of the really talented ones.
Yeah,
You know,
I think
streamers
the
don't have families. Yeah,
the
that's true.
evolution of PC gaming as a platform is dependent on its openness. The fact that
Hmm.
nobody controls it, nobody owns the
Except for
PC,
Valve.
like Microsoft owns the Xbox, right? And Google owns the internet, of
And
course.
Microsoft owns Windows, Valve owns
um,
Steam.
so
We're getting closer though.
in order for it to progress, in order for the quality content to continue to be available for the PC, we have to make certain that the people that are making that content have the distribution network for it and are going to be fairly compensated for their work. It's the free market system always has a way of e- creating some sort of equilibrium where these things work out. Yes, people that want to make their content available for free because they don't care will always have that opportunity. They can create entirely original games if they want to and make those freely available. But when it comes to regularly available quality content, this needs to happen. And it also needs to happen to keep the PC an open flat platform, because if you limit the creation of content for games strictly to developers and publishers, and even though it's impossible to stop somebody from making a mod, there have been cases where the companies have gone after them and said, cease and desist. We are not
Hmm.
going to allow you to create content for our game using our assets. Uh, that openness, that free market, not only for the sale but for the creation and distribution of games, has to be there for PC gaming to continue to exist. Otherwise, it's just going to be Microsoft and Sony telling you what you can have and when you can have it and for how much.
So you feel like it'll start dwindling out completely?
No, if if the mod if making mods, let me start over. If making mods for PC games becomes difficult, you're taking away one of PC gaming's greatest
Yeah.
advantages. Um, it's always been there. Modding for PC games has always been there. Even something as simple as going in and tweaking your INI files for a particular game so that it performs differently is, in a sense, modding the game. You're changing what was given to you as far as the out of the box experience is concerned. The PC needs that to continue to be a thriving community, and I don't think it'll ever go away. This having the opportunity to make mods profitable in the long run, I think helps, because you're still leaving the power to create content with somebody other than the original content creators and the big companies and the big developers and the people that can afford to spend millions of dollars just for a marketing campaign on a game, not to mention the development of the game itself.
Right.
All right, I think at this point we're ready for final words. So if you guys have anything to say, we'll start with OPNerd. If you want to have a
That
little
was my
outro.
final word.
Okay, there you go. Final words on the subject. Stealth Monkey, what do you want to say? I want to give, every time there's a guest on the show, I want to give you an opportunity to tell people, in your final words, what you stream, just really quickly. I don't want it to be a big section, but what you stream, when you stream, and
I
something
stream
else.
CSGO H1Z1 6:30 p.m. Central Time. See you there.
Yeah. And he goes, "Hey, everybody! Welcome to the stream! Yeah!"
And if you follow, I'll say, "Welcome to the Monkey Militia." There you
Are
go.
we talking like a Bobcat Goldthwait kind of?
So, there you go. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching the Speakeasy podcast. We're only 3 episodes in. And, I mean, I'm the guy who's making it, so I think it's going pretty well. But my opinion is quite biased. So thank you guys. If you have any feedback, tweet it, PM it, all that crap. Send me all the hate. Make Reddit threads about it, hating me, because that'll just increase popularity. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the hate. And thank you guys for hanging out. No idea what next week's podcast is going to be about. But, maybe we'll announce it on Twitter. Maybe we'll just wait and see. So, we will see you all, hopefully back, next week.
Take care. Bye.